The cold is not what you expect in the high desert of Colorado. It's a biting, dry chill that seems to cling to the back of your throat. But this chill was far from the mind of the young man driving down the unfamiliar dirt road. He was only 21, a brand new police officer, and he was trying to reset his life after a difficult breakup. He was attempting to navigate the bizarre world of online dating, and tonight, he was on his first date with a woman named Leah. He'd found Leah on an app, and frankly, she was stunning, far out of his league, he thought. They'd agreed on a unique spot, a secluded park outside her town for some stargazing. The drive began easily enough, but when Leah directed him to the access road, his internal police instincts started to prickle. The pavement quickly dissolved into a rough dirt track, winding through dense, dark scrubland. It felt less like a public park entrance and more like a service road leading to absolutely nowhere. He glanced at Leah, who smiled reassuringly, describing the beautiful sloping field where they would lay and watch the sky. He suppressed his unease, chalking it up to a classic rural area lacking infrastructure. They were moving slowly, maybe 20 miles an hour, when a set of dim headlights appeared ahead of them. It was a large, windowless van, heading in their direction. The road was narrow, so he pulled his small sedan far over to the side to give the bulky vehicle room to pass. But the van didn't pass. Instead, at the very last second, it sharply turned, stopping dead directly in front of his bumper. Not a gentle stop, but an aggressive, blocking maneuver. Every single red flag in his training went up. He was a cop. He was trained for confrontation. Without hesitation, he commanded, "Leah, stay in the car," grabbed his heavy-duty flashlight from the center console, and jumped out. He charged the driver's door of the van, illuminating the face of a large, rugged man. "What are you doing? You just blocked us in," he demanded, his voice carrying the authority of his badge. Even though he was off duty, the man, startlingly calm, held up a hand. "My sincere apologies, sir. I'm the caretaker for this property. We've had a severe issue with poachers lately, and I mistook your vehicle. Please, enjoy your night." The explanation was plausible, even if the delivery was weirdly casual. The caretaker backed up, performed a quick, precise turn, and sped away back up the hill. The officer watched until the taillights vanished, then got back into his car. He relayed the bizarre story to Leah, expecting her to be freaked out, but she wasn't paying attention. She was hunched over her phone, typing furiously, completely absorbed in whatever text she was sending. That tiny red flag that had fluttered before now felt like a firm, deliberate tug. He pushed the thought aside, backed up, and continued down the trail until they reached a small, remote dirt lot nestled against the wide, sloping field. They parked, laid out a blanket, and uncorked a bottle of wine. For the next hour, the conversation was easy, the laughter genuine. He felt the tension of his past weeks melt away. The stars were brilliant. The date was a success. It was totally dark when the noise returned. Not just the sound of an engine, but the sound of something coming in fast, reckless, and angry. The van was back. It came flying down the hill, tires churning the dirt into a violent cloud, and slammed to a halt, not in front of him, but right against the side of his car, boxing him in completely. Even if he made it back into his vehicle, he was going nowhere. The man, the supposed caretaker, leaped out of the van, a long metal pipe gripped tightly in his hand. His calm demeanor was gone, replaced by pure predatory rage. "Keys and wallet. Now!" he roared. The young officer froze, not out of paralysis, but confusion. This was supposed to be a peaceful stargazing date, but the final, terrifying piece of the puzzle slid into place when his date, Leah, stood up. She did not run to him for protection. She ran directly to the side of the armed attacker. She turned back to the officer, and the beautiful, reassuring smile she'd worn all evening was replaced by a cold, hateful smirk. "Come on, Derek. Give us the keys and your wallet," she hissed, her voice flat and chilling. The realization was a crushing blow. The gentle conversations, the shared jokes, the excitement for the date, it was all a complete fabrication. The access road, the isolated location, the initial reconnaissance stop by the van, it was an elaborate, terrifying setup designed to lead him to this dark field. Leah walked to the back of the van and retrieved her own weapon, another metal pipe. "We don't want to hurt you," she warned, a sick irony in her tone. In that instant, the cop realized what was waiting for him in the back of that windowless van. He reached inside his jacket, drew his off-duty, legally concealed pistol, and leveled it at the two conspirators. "I'm a police officer," he yelled, cutting through the silence of the night. "Put your hands on the vehicle now." The sight of the weapon instantly dissolved their aggression. They dropped their pipes and raised their hands. As the officers struggled to call 911, giving the dispatcher the confusing and detailed directions, Leah and the caretaker exchanged a quick glance. They turned and sprinted into the dense, black tree line. The officer gave chase for maybe 30 seconds before the crack of a gunshot echoed from the darkness. He stopped. He wasn't pursuing them into the woods at night. His priority was escape. He scrambled back to his car, slammed it into reverse, and rammed the van repeatedly until he was able to grind his way free and peel out onto the main road. When backup arrived, the officers searched the abandoned van. What they found confirmed the true nature of the date. A chilling collection of knives, heavy saws, rolls of duct tape, chains, and what appeared to be dried blood stains on the floor. It was a murder kit. When investigators went to the hair salon Leah claimed to work at, the staff confirmed they had never heard of her. The entire relationship had been a perfectly crafted illusion, a lure crafted by a professional predator. The officer was one question away from being another body in the back of a van, saved only by his training and the decision to carry a concealed weapon. Hey friends! You're in Dreamcatcher Stories, your cozy corner for stories that got lost along the way. Tell me, where are you watching from? And what time is it there for you? Hit me up in the comments and tell me how this one hits you. Now, let's get sneaky and peek behind the curtain. Sometimes the proximity to darkness is so close, so routine, that you don't recognize it until the headline screams the truth years later. Picture this. It's 1,978 inches, suburban Ohio. A night defined by awkward anticipation. A 16-year-old girl is ready for her high school prom, but she's not thrilled with her date. A boy known for being profoundly nervous and socially inept. When he arrives, he's wearing a horribly mismatched vest and bow tie instead of a tuxedo. He's so clumsy, he can't even pin her corsage on her dress. Her mother has to intervene. The prom is a disaster. The boy, uncomfortable with the crowd, refuses to dance. The girl suggests they leave the dance floor for a bite to eat. He pulls out her chair, pushes her in, and then, in a profoundly bizarre act, simply walks away. He returns much later, explaining he went outside for McDonald's cheeseburgers because he hated the school's food, and now they couldn't get back in. She, frustrated, demands to be taken home. He apologizes profusely, drives her back, and that's the end of the most awkward night of her teenage life. She sees him only one more time a week later when he invites her to a house party. She arrives, skeptical, and finds no music, no other teens, just 3 strangers and her date, who immediately suggests they hold a seance to communicate with the devil. She leaves immediately, profoundly creeped out. 13 years passed. The boy was just an embarrassing memory. A funny story about the weirdest prom date ever. Then, on the 22nd of July, 1991, she read the newspaper. The headline was about the arrest of one of the nation's most heinous serial killers. The story detailed the escape of a man in handcuffs who led police back to an apartment in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Inside, authorities found a scene of unimaginable horror. Human remains stored in freezers and refrigerators, body parts dissolved in barrels of chemicals, and photographs documenting the unspeakable. The man arrested, the monster behind the apartment door, was none other than her awkward prom date, Jeffrey Dahmer. The mind-bending, bone-chilling twist wasn't just the identity, it was the timing. The girl was able to confirm through historical records that just days after that stiff, awkward photo was taken, days after she was stuck outside with him and his cheeseburgers, Jeffrey Dahmer had claimed his very first victim. She had gone to prom with a boy who, at that very moment, was standing on the precipice of becoming one of history's most notorious serial murderers. The transition from a quiet night of teenage rebellion to stumbling upon a capital crime is a leap few ever make. But it happened in a silent, forgotten cemetery in the mid-1992s. Two best friends, goths to the core, frequented a massive, archaic cemetery in their town. Their spot was a secluded clearing down a hill, hidden from the main road and the bordering houses. It was their escape, their private, quiet space. One Friday night, they were there alone, sitting by their usual rock, when a peculiar smell drifted into the clearing. It was thick, acrid, and profoundly foul, like something rancid mixed with burning plastic. It was a bonfire, but the odor was all wrong. Assuming it was noisy college kids, they decided to leave before the police inevitably swept the grounds. As they started up the hill toward their car, they paused. The fire seemed to be coming from the adjacent hill, not the usual college area. Curiosity won. They decided to sneak over and peek. They walked down their hill and started ascending the neighboring slope. They got only a few steps up when the odor hit them fully. An overpowering, sickening stench of burning hair, melting flesh, and gasoline. It was a smell that transcended mere unpleasantness. It was the smell of something fundamentally wrong. One of the girls gasped out loud. They froze, realizing the noise may have carried. The smell was enough. They abandoned their curiosity and turned to flee. As they began scrambling back up the hill toward their car, one of them glanced back at the crest of the hill near the fire, and there, perfectly silhouetted against the roaring orange glow, stood a man. He was tall, mid-40s, just standing and watching them. They felt the immediate, terrifying certainty that they had just been caught witnessing something they shouldn't have seen. They ran. They bolted to their car, fumbling with the keys, and sped away from the cemetery. The next morning, the local news explained the acrid stench and the man on the hill. A woman had been kidnapped from her work parking lot. The police confirmed the man they arrested had murdered her, and then attempted to dispose of her body by burning it in a bonfire in a remote section of the cemetery. The girls realized they hadn't been spying on a party. They had interrupted an attempt to destroy evidence. Had they been quieter, or had they continued to the top of the hill, they would have literally come face to face with a killer in the middle of his horrifying ritual. Their survival hinged on a sudden, overwhelming, and justifiable disgust. And then you have the pattern, the signature so bizarre, it becomes the killer's calling card. In the Twin Cities of Minnesota, the winter of 1980 opened a file that would terrify the nation. The first victim, a 20-year-old woman, was found savagely beaten with a tire iron. Miraculously, she survived, but the trauma erased the identity of her attacker. Hours before she was found, police received an anonymous phone call. The male voice was frantic, trembling, and utterly distraught. "Please, this is an emergency. Send a squad. There's a girl there. Just hurry." He gave the location and hung up. 5 months later, the calls began again. This time, the voice was weeping, confessing. I just stabbed somebody with an ice pick. I can't stop myself. I keep killing somebody else. Hours later, a young woman who had just moved to the state was found murdered with an ice pick. She had been seen leaving a diner with a man who offered to show her the city. 2 days after the murder, the weeping voice called back, apologizing to the victim by name. I'm sorry what I did to Compton. I couldn't help it. I am sick. I'll try not to kill anybody else from this point forward. He became known as the weepy-voiced killer. He was a monster who repeatedly used the urgency of an emergency call and his own self-pity to alert authorities to his crimes. The pattern continued. 6 months later, another murder, another sobbing confession call. This time, authorities spoke to a waitress who had seen the victim leave with a man and managed to get a good look at him. She identified the suspect from a photo lineup, Paul Stefani. Even with his voice on tape, the evidence was scarce, but the identification was a break. Under surveillance, Stefani slipped away and attacked another woman. She survived by fighting back, smashing a glass bottle against his head. Severely wounded, Stefani did the only thing he knew how to do. He called 911. I need an ambulance. I'm all cut up. I got beat up, he cried. This time, the dispatcher recognized the distinct, quivering voice from the publicized recordings. Police tracked the call, apprehended Stefani in his apartment, and closed the case. The monster wasn't hiding. He was confessing and weeping, not out of remorse, but a bizarre, self-destructive need for attention. Years later, on his deathbed, Paul Stefani confessed to 4 murders, including one the police never connected to him. Finally, there are the inexplicable mysteries that shatter logic and geography, leaving behind only the cold dread of the unknown. In 2004, the scene was a desolate country highway in rural Florida. A mother, already anxious because of the setting sun and poor eyesight, was rushing home with her teenage daughter. Suddenly, the daughter saw something impossible. A girl, sitting quietly on the roadside, facing the dense woods. They argued, but the mother agreed to turn back. They drove slowly until they saw her again. A young teen, knees up, rocking. She did not acknowledge their headlights. They drove past her, then quickly turned around. In the short space of time it took to turn the car, the girl was gone. They drove a few miles, feeling relieved. Then, as they approached the first major intersection, the mother slammed on the brakes. The girl was there, miles ahead of them, sitting in the exact same position, knees tucked, rocking, with her back to the road. It was geographically impossible for her to have traveled that fast. The terror wasn't just in the sight of her, but in the blatant disregard for the laws of physics. The mother, determined to do the right thing, stopped the car right beside the figure. The daughter, sensing a profound, non-human danger, collapsed into the footwell, begging her mother not to look. But the mother rolled down the window and yelled out. What she saw was so immediately and viscerally shattering that she couldn't articulate it for minutes, only screaming and driving wildly away. When she finally found the words, she whispered, "She didn't have a face. It was hollow." The police searched the area extensively. No sign of the girl was ever found. Was she a phantom, a geographic anomaly, or something else entirely? The mystery remains unsolved. A chilling reminder that some things simply cannot be explained by logic or true crime records. These 5 stories, the sophisticated plan of the Tinder date, the unconscious proximity to Dharma, the discovery of a killer's ritual in the cemetery, the pattern of the weepy-voiced killer, and the geographical impossible sighting, all prove that the line between the ordinary day and pure profound danger is razor thin. And sometimes the closest call is the one you never even knew you survived. And there we go. Another memory back from the dark. Don't go too far. I've got more mysteries itching to be told. What do you think was the killer's ultimate plan for Derek in that field robbery? Or something far worse? Let me know your theories in the comments below. And if you dare to delve deeper into these strange, dark, and utterly true mysteries, make sure you subscribe to Dreamcatcher Stories and turn on notifications. Until next time, stay safe and think critically about the shadows.